Hi there, and welcome to Inktober, day 11. I'm Danny Gregory, and each day this month I've committed to taking on another one of those challenges from the Inktober list of challenges, prompts, things. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I've been experimenting with different things, and today I have some thoughts about other kinds of experiments I want to try. You know, ink is my medium. I certainly draw my lines with ink a lot, and I also like things like painting with ink. So that's another part of my practice. I like watercolor with ink. So yeah, I don't know, ink is something that, I don't know, panics people sometimes when it comes to drawing, because they feel like, if I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, they said, if you make a mistake, what happens? And I said, that's, to me, part of the fun. You make a mistake, you find out what happens. So yeah. So hi, Deborah is here from Alabama. Anybody else would like to introduce themselves, say hi? That would be nice. It would be nice to figure out who I'm going to be hanging out with for the next X amount of time. So please introduce yourself and tell me about, how do you feel about ink? How do you feel about Inktober? Here's a name like nobody else. Listening to the intro of Quick Draw, good. Yes, so you told us yesterday you signed up for Quick Draw, and I'm glad you're here. Mary, an old pal from Sketchbook Skool days. Well, I make it seem like days. Sketchbook Skool days continue. But thank you, Mary, for joining us. Bartek. Yeah. So, you know, I think people are afraid of ink because they have to make a commitment. You've got to say, I want to draw this way, and it may not turn out to be the way that you wanted it to be drawn. So what are you going to do then? I've got a whole bunch of other people that's flooded in. Joseph from Wisconsin, and Sherry from California, and Mellow Yellow from Nova Scotia, Birgit from Germany, Hannah from Egypt, Komopa, is that correct pronunciation, from Ukraine, Sitak from Iran, and Rachel from spooky Massachusetts. I guess it is spooky. It is where, is that where the tradition of Halloween first began, or was it New York? I was associated with Washington Irving myself, but yes, good to see you here. Kate has shown up with, she's keeping up with Inktober. A lot of times, Kate, you seem to have done it beforehand. Yes, and you did Frodo's sword. Yes, we were talking about today's prompt. Let's get to that, and we'll come back and talk with whoever else has shown up here. But today's prompt is number 11, November 11th. Sorry, excuse me, that would be a problem. October 11th, Sting, and we were talking yesterday about various ways of interpreting this, and somebody suggested the sword, Frodo's sword from Lord of the Rings, and that of course is called Sting because it's a short sword but lethal. So yes, so I'm not going to be drawing a sword. I'm not sure that I would find that interesting to spend an hour or so drawing a sword. So I'll probably spend a fair amount of time blathering, and then we'll get into it. Yes, Jean says she did Inktober for 5 years and then took a break for a couple of years. Good. I'd like to know what that was like doing it for those years. What did you get out of it? Because this is really the first time that I'm being committed to doing every single prompt. And Felicia from Romania. I gather you're from Romania? Yes. And various other folks here. Art from England, and Barbie from Florida. Komora explains. Komora, yes. Very good. How to pronounce her name, or his name. Maybe it's his name. Now we have to ask another question. Okay, sorry about that. So yes, Laura from Australia, and Joseph with a pen and brush, which is kind of the way I'm doing it. I'm not using a dip pen. And I'll tell you the reason I'm not doing a dip pen, because that was originally my plan, was to do the whole month in a dip pen. But I really wanted to work in this particular sketchbook, which is my Venezia and from Fabriano. And I find that it's not great with, it's okay with a dip pen, but it's not great. The paper can get spidery, you know, it can absorb it, it makes my lines less sharp. To me, the ideal thing to use with a dip pen is Bristol. But the problem I have with Bristol is it's not really great for painting with the ink. It's not designed to have a lot of water on it. That's what I find. So I decided that I wanted to focus on the Venezia, and I wanted to probably do ink painting most of the time, sumi ink. I found the first few prompts that I just did cross hatching, and it just wasn't my mood. You know, there are times when I'm really into it. Today actually happens to be a day when I'm feeling a bit more like I want to get detailed. I want to use a finer pen. I want to be less expressive, and I want to be more technical. So I don't know how you feel about things today, but that's kind of where I am at. Sally says, Inktober has moved me forward by insisting I use ink, but I also find deadlines distressing. It's true. It's true. Knowing that you're going to do it every day. And it's funny, isn't it? Like some people will just say, yeah, I do it when I feel like it. And some people, like me, are like, if I've committed to doing this, I'm going to try and do it every day, and I'm going to beat myself up if I miss a day. It's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. It doesn't matter if you miss a day. Nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention. But yet, we're weird. You may be weird in a different way. But I find, I like the fact that I'm pretty methodical and that I'm pretty committed, and I like habits, because I find, it's funny, I was on Substack yesterday, I made a note on somebody's comment about consistency and regularity, and how a lot of artists, a lot of creative people like having consistency in their lives. And I had been watching a video recently that was talking about David Lynch and what he eats for lunch. I would recommend this video. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but if you just type into YouTube, David Lynch, what he eats for lunch. And the point of this essay was that he eats the exact same thing every day for lunch. I think it was like tuna and tomato and something like that. But what he was talking about in this video was that he likes having a consistent thing so he doesn't have to think about it. And I think that that's true of a lot of creative people. Think about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs always wore like the black turtleneck and the jeans. Not just because it was, I don't know, a look. I don't think he really cared about that. I think it was because he didn't have to think about what he wore. And I remember watching a long time ago the movie The Fly, the version of The Fly that has Jeff Goldblum in it. And he is always wearing, he wears like a white shirt and a gray tweed jacket and gray pants or something like that. And there's a scene in the movie where he opens his closet door, and you see the closet is full of just the same jacket, the same shirt, the same pants, like multiple copies of them. I just think that that's a common thing you see. You think about, like Picasso, you always think of him as like wearing like the striped t-shirt. Not that he always did, but that kind of a common thing. A lot of fashion designers, particularly men, always wear the same thing. You always see like Ralph Lauren wearing a denim shirt. You always see, I don't know, I can't think of a lot of people off the top of my head, but there's a lot of consistency in what they wear, because that way you don't have to think about that. And you can keep your decision making focused on making creative decisions. And that is, I'm sure scientists and mathematicians are similar to doing that. So anyway, all right. I haven't been paying attention to what you've been saying, but maybe I've been blathering too much. So let's move on. So as I said, today's prompt is sting. That's what we're going to working on. And also I wanted to bring this up before. I talked about this yesterday. I said that this sumi ink comes in these, and I didn't have one handy yesterday, but This is a block of ink. As you can see, it has this beautiful stuff on it. Chinese writing, I don't know what it says. But yeah, so you could use this. I'm probably not going to use it today because I don't have all of my stuff set up. But you know, ideally, and I used to have this, you have a stone palette. And so you put a bit of water in it, and then you just kind of rub on the stone palette with a bit of water, and it turns into ink. And, you know, the more you rub, the darker the ink is. And you can buy these anywhere for not much, $5. I've been using this Yasutomo Sumi ink, and this bottle is almost empty, which really surprised me yesterday that I almost am out of ink, but that's probably going to come into play later today. But I think I'm going to start with, I might even go down to a micron 005, because here's what my thought is. This is my interpretation of Sting. For some reason, I started thinking about Stinger missiles. Kind of an ugly thing to be thinking about, but missile, and I started thinking like mechanical stuff. And I started thinking about what's it called? Steampunk. And the idea of design and its inspiration from nature. And I thought, I'm going to make like an attack bee. I'm going to make a bee that is like a drone or a jet, but it's all mechanical, and it has like a really dangerous looking stinger. But I don't know. I just was kind of, I like the idea of doing, I like sometimes drawing engines and cutaways, you know, blow-ups of things, and that's just kind of what I felt like doing today. So I have a couple of reference pictures that I found of bees and, you know, mechanical stuff. So I'll probably be looking at those, but I'm not going to be sharing them with you. I don't want to influence you in how you do it. I want you to just kind of work on this however you want to work on it, or just watch me do it, and I'll try to explain my process, okay? Let's get into it, as they say. So I think I may have to do several passes at this, but I'm going to start with, you know, bees have these incredible heads, and I want to fit it also in this format. So I'm probably going to draw him like this, maybe with wings coming up here, wings going back, legs coming down. We'll see. I'm not sure if I'm going to do like a whole scene. I'm thinking I'll be doing more like almost more diagrammatic. You know, I'm thinking like this might be where the pilot sits in here. This is the eyeball. You know, I mean, it could also be an unmanned vehicle. I don't know. But, you know, they have like a little nose thing, almost like a little beak. So you might have that, but it might be some kind of an antenna. So then I'm going to come in and I'm going to make this feel like just more tech. But for now, I want to just get down the basic shapes. And of course, it has antennae, which would be important as some kind of a transmission device. I don't know what the scale of this thing is. I'm thinking it's kind of pretty big. It's obviously not bee size. It's like the kind of thing you might drive in. So it might have yeah, I think having a pilot in there might be cool. Kind of come back to him and see. And then this part, is like has like fur on it, but I think in my mechanical one, it might have like some kind of like blades or something coming off it. Yeah, some like little searchlights on it. I mean, it flies obviously, but it also can do some damage on the ground. So maybe you could, yeah. So maybe there's a pilot sitting in here. You can sort of roughly see him as if he was sitting in like like a bomber pilot would be. But I'm imagining this being like all the like little details. He's wearing a helmet of some kind. Lots of little lights and things. So you can see it's like this is an opportunity to just get super fiddly, which is really fun sometimes. You get fiddly, but you're also trying to think also about the bigger picture. You know, you don't want to just be lots of tiny details. You want to have you want them to kind of come together and make a bigger thing. And these legs would also have to be, you know, they have all kinds of hydraulics and stuff in them. But they're also armored. Steampunk is, you know, if you just in case you don't know what it is, it's sort of like this. It's like a technology world, a world that is sort of based on mechanical rather than digital or computer technology, and it has, you know, it's more brass than silicon. I don't know if anybody can explain this better than me, probably, but there was this movie called Wild Wild West that had this. It was kind of like a parallel universe where they had all kinds of high tech stuff, but it was all not high tech. It was like steam powered brass and but it is fun to do all the details. I think the wings are almost like bolted on here. Obviously they'd have to have some kind of thing that powers them, but this is where they attach. And they'd be glass, but like super, you know, like bulletproof glass kind of thing. With steel plates in it somewhere. So we'll be able to see through them. That's important. everything has like little detailed text stuff, you know. This needs to be on some kind of a thing that moves. So it has like some kind of a hydraulic thing so that it can move its head around. There's a lot of mysterious things in here. You don't know quite what they are. I can't explain them either. They're just sort of stuff. And there's also like a lot of, you know, buttons and dials and gauges and stuff like that. And then there's maybe like tubes that connect things to other things and stuff. And this maybe swivels too. This part swivels. So that this back part, which would be where the stinger is, because the stinger is going to be this big thing back here. I'm going to have to make these wings bigger even still. I'm going to add more stuff onto them. Because we want this. And these are going to be like stripes, but they're going to be like mechanical stripes. Or they're going to be like metal stripes. So they're not painted on, but maybe like this is, you know, the brass and some kind of carbon thing that different plates. And then of course we have to have the stinger itself, but the question is like, yeah, the stinger is here, but it is a it's not just a point, it's like a laser or something. We'll go in and add some more detail to that later on. I'm looking at the picture I'm looking at of the bee. You know, bees have all these like segments and you know, little like horns, and like most insects do, little feelers and things. You know, so I want to kind of duplicate those, but I want it to be like a tech thing. And maybe it's also got like little grippers too on the front legs so that it can grip and grab stuff. Little springs and all kinds of stuff like that. These back legs, I think, are going to be like more powerful, industrial, less tech. Maybe it also has some kind of little horns on it. You know, they always say that bees are, you know, if a physicist had studied the aerodynamics of a bee, that it would be impossible for it to fly. So because they have such a big, fat, muscular body, and then they have these little, comparatively puny wings. I want to have some hatches here. I want to have maybe this part is glass so you can see inside, and you can see that there's some kinds of like panels. Same as this part. This part definitely you're going to be able to see inside here and see there's like panels with lights on them and things like that. Big tubes going back. Kind of outline these wings so you can see them despite the stuff going on behind it. Okay. Make this wing. So yeah, this wing is now the right scale, right proportion. It's also going to have some kind of vein type thing that goes like that. But it also has to have plates that are bolted on. They don't have to necessarily be symmetrical in their design, just in their proportions, I think. Skylights on the back. That's a good idea. Yeah. So let's put in like a kind of a, what would you call it? Not a skylight, but a porthole back here. I'm also thinking that we could have some antennas coming off here somewhere. Maybe it's over here. There's like a big thing of antennas. This is looking pretty badass. So maybe this you can see inside here too. Maybe there's a ladder comes up, but then it has like some kind of a yeah, there's like a valve, not a valve, but like a manhole. What would you call that? A gate, something that hinges up here. Oh, I forgot his other legs. I guess you maybe can't see them so well. This one's here, that one's there. This one is maybe back here somewhere. See a bit of it. Yeah, the key to this is just having lots of little textures. Lots of little doodads in here. make some of this down here look like you're looking through the slightly translucent wings, but it's not completely transparent. Does it look like a bee still? I think when I put these tones back here, it'll look more bee-like. Right now it looks a little bit like a fly. Hatch, right, that's true, hatch. So hatch might have like one of those little turnbuckle things on the inside. It might, but it's not a fly. It might make a buzzing sound, right? Might make a buzzing sound. So, yeah, I'm not sure that I'm talking about the series. I'm going to think about the movie with Will Smith. Was the TV show? I think they reinterpreted it. Maybe the TV show didn't have steampunk in it. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen it, but I do remember that movie. All right, I think this is looking pretty good. I'm gonna put some tone on it and see where that takes us. And what I did yesterday is I took a second dish and I just put in a lot of water. So, all right, so I'm thinking these will be the darker stripes. Alternating darker stripes. Honestly, I've never done anything like this before. I like to draw, as I said, I like to draw diagrams and things like that, and cutaways, but I don't think I've ever done a steampunk thing, and I don't think I've ever invented some creature like this, but it's a lot of fun. I should do it more often. This would probably have the shadow from this part coming down. So I think this whole underneath part should be darker. But then there might also be, there could be some shadow on the ground here. I'm not sure if he's flying. He's not flying, obviously. His wings are at rest. But I could suggest that they can move like that. That's helping, right? It's helping to make it look 3D. It certainly looks quite lethal. Marta says, why don't I incorporate colored inks? I thought about that, but one of the things about Inktober is they want it to be black and white. You know, because, I honor that because I think that this is a creative challenge, whereas if I started putting in color, it would be just so much like what I always do. You know, I mean, instead of using watercolor, I would just use colored inks. And so I think black and white is just more of a creative challenge, more interesting to me. So, you know, you can interpret however you want to, but this is kind of I'm putting more restrictions on myself just to make it more of a challenge and to push me in new directions. Like, I would never have drawn this normally. You know, I'm more likely to draw a tuna sandwich than I am to draw Killer Tech Bee. But now I've done it. And I think that that's what I've been discovering through this process of just the last week, is that I'm kind of thinking of new ways to do this that are moving me in, you know, and I think I started it with a fair amount of fear and anxiety, you know, particularly, as I've said, like looking at what other people are doing online. I'm like, oh God, I'm not doing anything like that, or I'm not doing anything as good. Or some of them seem to be spending huge amounts of time on it and doing like really beautiful, beautiful polished pieces of illustration. And then I started to realize about 4 days into it that I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And it's been a lot more fun since then. I think it all started with Murky. Murky, the prompt that I really struggled with the most. And then it made me realize that I didn't have to go in that direction. I didn't have to be literal about it. And I could be playful. And I could have fun. And that's what art making is about for me. You know, there are other people who it's, you know, more about polish, or it's about some other form of expression. For me, I want to have fun. And this to me is like I'm channeling my inner 11-year-old, and I like that. Hey, you don't need to do that. You know, somebody told me about these Jelly Roll pens. I've heard about people talking about them a lot, but when I was in Seattle a couple months ago at this Sketcher Fest, my friend Lapin was using these, and I got this set of 3 different ones, and they really are so much fun particularly with black and white, because you can just, it's like the first truly opaque pen like this that I've had. You know, don't overdo it, and also you can then put ink on top of it to kind of knock it back, so it doesn't have to be bright white. It can just be lighter than the stuff around it, but you may not have thought to do that when you first drew it. So you get that. You get a little bit of contrast, but it's not like bright, like, oh, you just drew on top of it with a white pen. See, I was keep thinking, like, should I put shadow underneath it? But I think it's flying. I think all of its limbs are kind of shaking a little bit as it flies. And it's not on the ground. All right. Yeah, this back leg does look kind of scary. It is it's like some kind of clamping device, and then it has these might even be like little torpedoes or something, little cannons sticking out the back, rear-facing cannons. That might be a good idea, actually. Maybe I have some more little like blades and stuff sticking out the back here. All right, that's pretty cool. Nancy says she's trying to do the Tommy Keene thing of crowding many different topics on the page and overdrawing. Yeah, I mean, Tom has taken a really long time to do this, and I can tell you how he does it. Let me take a break and have a cup of coffee. So my friend Tommy Keene, I call him Tom because I've known him since we were in our early 20s. And what he does is he takes a long time to draw. You know, he's very slow. And so what he'll do is he will start to draw something. He'll draw some part of something, draw an animal when he visits the Museum of Natural History. And then he might draw part of a building. And a day later, and then he might draw part of a person's face when he's sitting with them, but then he gets interrupted, so he doesn't finish it. He does that several days later. So he builds those pages sometimes over the course of a week. If you want to see probably the person who originally inspired him to do that, look at James Jean. James Jean he's a sketchbook god, and he is so good at doing these layering things, and you'll see how he does it. He's very inspiring in lots of different ways, and I know that he's inspired Tom a lot, so check him out. Deb said she can never get them to work. Well, this one is working for me pretty well. Yours might be old. They're a couple bucks, so I would just get some more. Uniball Signo, I have one. I have it right here. No, that's not it. Here it is. I don't like it as well. I don't think that the point is as controllable as the Jelly Roll is. I don't find it as opaque. It doesn't work as well for me. So yeah. I mean, people going back and forth. Some like the Uniball Signo better, and yeah. Different strokes, as they say. All right. Sixto says a very good version. Thank you. Yeah, I'm reasonably pleased with this. I think it's looking pretty good. Put like a couple of little hits inside the shadows there. Nice contrast. Boy, it's endless how you can fiddle with it if you want, you know? So yes, please allow every country to buy the Kindle version of Illustrated Journey. Yeah, it's not my call really, it's the publisher does that. So I don't know why you wouldn't be able to buy it. Kindle version? I don't know. Personally, I don't buy I don't really like buying art books on the Kindle. I love the Kindle. I buy huge amounts of books on it or take a lot of books out of the library. I always find that it's better to, when it comes to art, I want to see it big. I want to hold it in my hands. So I don't really meddle in that stuff that much when it comes to the publisher's decisions. But Illustrated Journey that book is 20 years old. Might even be older. Yeah, 20 years old. So it's unfortunately doesn't have all the distribution that it did years ago. But anyway, well, here's something I don't like this. This needs to stand down. I did this early on and I hadn't really figured out what the rules should be, but this definitely needs something to make it stand out there. Cool. All right, I think that's good. That's my sting. Let's go back to prompts. So what do we got tomorrow? Shredded. What do you think? Shredded. I mean, there's shredded cheese, shredded paper, but then there's also like shredding, like in the sense of like, is it a skiing thing? And there's also like when your muscles are shredded. That might be where I go, having like a bodybuilder, shredded muscles. You know, you can see all the striations. It's kind of the way I look. You've never seen me in my posing pouch. I hope you never do. You've never seen me when I'm greased up for competition. You know, I'm fully pumped up. You know, I remember when Schwarzenegger said to me, "I'm glad I retired," he said, "because you put me to shame." So yeah, so maybe I'll just do a self-portrait of me and all of my shredded muscles. If you guys want to draw cheese, go ahead. I'll find that picture. I have some really good glamour pictures of me with all of my muscles. And you laugh. You think I'm joking. Put in a lot of work. You think my drawing muscles are rippling? Wait till you see. Sarah's going to draw shredded curtains. I don't know. All right, this was fun. Thanks for joining me on a Saturday. It's raining here. It's been raining. We just put on a fire in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, but it's gonna get warm again. But a few days of rain. It's incredible. I've never had rain here before like this, day after day of raining. So shredding a guitar. That's a good one too. Yeah. I did heavy metal a couple days ago. I did all these heavy things, and one of them was somebody shredding a guitar, but we could do that. But I kind of like the idea of an anatomy study, self-portrait. Maybe I'll like strip down when I draw. Give you guys a treat. Show off some of my tattoos. Banksy's shredded picture, that was genius. I remember when that happened, and it was just the best thing. Hopefully you know the story. He had a painting that was up for auction, and when the winning bid went in, it had this device that was attached to the side of it. Nobody knew what it was. Somebody bid millions of dollars for it, literally millions of dollars for this not terribly significant painting. And when the bid went down, the gavel went down, suddenly this thing came to life. And it was like it turned and it cranked and it pulled the painting through a set of blades that came down and shredded the painting. It was insane. So great. That was really good. So, yeah. All right. I'll see you guys probably tomorrow, Sunday. See what we do. But thanks for hanging out with me today and drawing my killer bee. See you later. Bye-bye.